Hi, you guys, it's Mrs. Palmer. I'm so sorry. My home computer doesn't work as well as the one that I have at school, and my webcam is not working, and I hope that my sound is coming through okay for you. Um, Before I get started with today's lesson, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. The first one is that before spring break, I gave you an applying percents task to do. You will be turning that in as part of your fourth quarter grade. If we end up going back to school after May 1st, you can turn it in then. If we end up not going back to school, which I'm not quite sure what is going to happen, I'll have to figure out another way for you to turn that in, but please make sure that you have completed that applying percents task. Also, your Alex Topics goal for fourth quarter is 100% complete. So I would like all of you to work on Alex during this time, whenever you have free time, work on that goal. If you're having any questions about any of your topics, you can email me, let me know which topic you're having trouble with, and I will do my best to send you an explanation back for that topic. Um, this week, you're going to have two assignments to do. One of them is called the Algebra Basics Review number 1. The other one is the Algebra Basics Review number 2. I just want to review a few things with you before we move on next week with doing some more algebra. I want to introduce you to some of the things that you're going to see when you get to 8th grade. So with that said, I'm going to go through a couple of examples from your Alex assignment. I just want to make sure that you remember how to do each different skill that this assignment requires. Okay, so this first one says, use the distributive property to remove the parentheses. So remember, the distributive property tells us that everything inside the parentheses needs to get multiplied by what's on the outside of the parentheses. Also remember that if there is a negative sign in front of a term, the term's negative obviously. Also, if there is a subtraction sign in front of the term, you have to think about that term as being negative. So when I look at the three terms that are inside the parentheses, I would think about them as negative 6u, a negative 2x, and a positive 5. And on the front of the parentheses, or on the outside of the parentheses, we have a negative 8. And since this negative 8 is right next to the parentheses, every term inside the parentheses needs to get multiplied by what's out front. So this becomes negative 8 times negative 6u, which is a positive 48u, a negative 8 times by a negative 2x, which would be a positive 16x, and then a negative 8 times a positive 5, which would be a negative 40. Now, all three of these are not like terms. This one has a u, this one has an x, and this one is just a constant. So we cannot combine these or simplify this any further. So our final answer would be 48u plus 16x and then a negative 40. Okay, on the next one, what I want to make sure that you realize is that we have a 6w, we have a minus 2. Because there's a minus sign in front of this parentheses, or I'm sorry, because there's a minus sign in front of this 2, it actually makes it a negative 2. And you have to remember that so that when you distribute, you get your signs correct. So the first thing that you're going to do here when you simplify is you want to distribute first, and then you want to combine any like terms. So negative 2 times negative 3z is a positive 6z. Negative 2 times 4w is a negative 8w. And then we have a positive 3z, and this was also a z. And then we have a 6w, and this was a positive 6z. So now we combine like terms. Remember, like terms are terms that have the same variables raised to the same powers. So 6w, and this is a negative 8w because there's a minus sign in front of it. We need to think about this as being a negative 8. So a 6w and a negative 8w, that would be a negative 2w. And then we have a positive 6z and a positive 3z, which becomes a positive 9z. And then the two of these are not like terms, so we have now simplified this expression. Okay, On the next one, use the distributive property to remove the parentheses. So you're just going to multiply 12 times 2/3 and then 12 times negative 2y. Okay, on question number 6, it says to simplify the following expression. Remember, simplify just means to combine like terms. We would read this expression as 12x squared, a negative 9, a positive 3x, a negative 4x squared, and a negative 10. So when we combine like terms, we combine the terms that have the exact same variables to the exact same powers. So I can combine this 12x squared and the negative 4x squared, and that would be 8x squared. I can also combine the negative 9 with the negative 10, and that would be negative 19. And then I am left with this positive 3x. Okay? Now, when you simplify an expression, it's always best practice to write the expression in the descending order of the exponent. So notice this is x to the second, x to the first, and then this is just a constant. Okay? On the next one, you would distribute first, and then you would combine like terms. So negative 3 times u is negative 3u. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. And then we have a positive u. Remember, if it's just a positive u, the coefficient of this u would be a 1. Okay, so when we combine like terms, we can combine the negative 3u and the positive 1u, and that would be negative 2u. And then we also have our negative 15. Okay? On the next one, we need to add these two terms. It says to simplify your answer as much as possible. Remember that when you add fractions, you have to have a common denominator. Okay? So in this case, the denominator of the 3/5 is a 5, and the denominator of the 7 is 2a. Okay? So if we multiply those two together, that can give us our common denominator. So 5 times 2a is 10a. That's our common denominator. And to get from 5 to 10a, we have to multiply by 2a. So that means the top has to get multiplied by 2a. So that makes this a 6a. To get from 2a to 10a, we have to multiply by 5. So the 7 has to get multiplied by 5, and that would be 35. Now we can add these two together, and we get 6a plus 35 all over 10a. Okay? Okay, so I hope this video is helpful. I know that I went through this very quickly, but I also know that these are skills that we have already worked on and that you have tested on in this class. So, but I know it's been a while also. If you're having any questions or you need some extra help, please email me. I would be happy to help you. Even though we're not together in person, I am still here to help you. So I hope you guys have a really great day. And I will make another video for you on Thursday. Talk to you soon.